So, today I'm going to be talking about not just the security posture, Internet Security Threat Report, which is, by the way, publicly available in the public-facing internet. So if you want to read yourself the Internet Security Threat Report, I would encourage everybody to do so. It's a good reading, and if you're a bit tired, it will help you go to further sleep. But today, this afternoon, I'm going to talk about IT self-service and what it means together with mobility. And could we accomplish something which we called bring your own device? So BYOD, or bring your own device concept, is really something where you enable people not to use the corporate uses or the organization's own devices. It's a scenario where actually I let the customers or my end users use whatever they have. They could use my resources or they could use their own. And when I'm asking that, well, is this a great idea? The people are asking me that we could go there, we are almost ready, but we are missing one thing. Can anybody of you tell me what is the one thing they are missing? Come on. What is the one thing we are always missing with bring your own device concept? Any company, any organization willing to go to bring your own device. What is the one thing that is missing? That is the security. Absolutely. They have huge concerns. What will happen to our information when we download and upload them? The device is just like this. I mean, this is an iPad, pretty cool device. I can do plenty of gaming. My daughter loves it. And it's a brilliant combination of something you can use for business and for pleasure. Great opportunity. It has a battery that has a lifetime of 2 days. With hard working. Isn't that amazing? But how about the security? So there's a balance between what I would like to do and there's something that I'm allowed to do. So that is something we need to talk about today, because this is a cybersecurity forum in the end of the day. We need to talk about security, how to securely enable the bring your own device. And what if we accomplish that, what other things could we do with these devices? So, first thing about IT self-service is that it needs to be defined. I mean, most of the organization I know has some sort of IT self-service in place already. Most organizations, for example, have developed some way of resetting a password. So in many organizations, you don't need to call somebody when you want to have your password resetted. Interestingly enough, that is something, the password reset, that still is something you can develop and further make so that you don't need to call somebody. But there's in overall, in IT self-service, and I have highlighted it, the most important thing is that you need to help customers to help their problems, not yours, but the end customers' problems need to be solved. That is the key to how the IT self-service could grow and be more effective. And there's 4 myths around IT self-service. The first promise always is that I will have self-service and it will take away my cost, right? Huge savings. The other one is that I can just put it in place, the IT self-service, it's a one-time investment. Third one, end users will flock. Flock means that bees come to a place where there's the nest, so they're flocking to self-service. And the fourth and the biggest myth perhaps of all is that the IT self-service is easy to implement. Now, I understand that these are promises made by somebody to somebody. And I will try to explain you why I might bit disagree with these. So the first one is that IT self-service will reduce cost. Well, it's certainly true if you think about first level help desk work. But if you're somebody else, it might not be the case. What is true about the cost savings is that it needs to be well defined part of the process. Then you might be able to save something. And it needs to happen often. So then you might be saving something. It is related to the other one, which is that IT self-service is a one-time investment. You see, everything is in self-service is the perceived value. The value the end customer sees when he uses the service. So if the perceived value is not high enough, then users stop using the service. They start calling you again, even though you have implemented that $1 million self-service system. If you don't make it interesting enough, if the perceived value is not high enough, they will stop using it. Which is related to the fact that we are saying that the end users love our self-service capabilities. That is true. And we are sometimes measure the first year adoption rate, and that can be really low. Meaning that how much do we actually can move a workforce to be done automatically, how much do we do manually. And there's a lot of things like organizational demographics, that how many people do you have in your end users who are perhaps about 50 years old, who might be having some challenges using IT as a whole. So you need to bear that in mind. What I would like to say is that IT self-service is really, it's not easy to implement, it's actually a hard work. It's a continuous effort, and it's related to processes. So, what I would like to say as well is that if you manage to solve all these issues, you have a way to communicate directly with your end users when they want the communication to happen. So the IT self-service is a great way of communicating with your customers or with your end users, but it needs to be taken seriously. And the thing is that you don't need to do everything, but perhaps you should consider like password resets and stuff like that are really easy technically to do. Now, how does this all reflect to mobility? Why is it so bloody important to talk about IT self-service with the same time as I'm talking about mobility? Well, the fact is that the mobility changed everything. And it is already happening. So we are estimating that by the year 2015, there will be more iPads and tablet devices than they are corporate PCs. That is a massive change. And I'm seeing at least in my own home country, Finland, this already, because Apple is growing like a plague or whatever. They are selling a lot of these devices already. And what is striking is that at the same time when we're talking about users, the battle between the user organization and the IT is perhaps bigger than ever before. In Finland, which I obviously know most about, the IT stuff said that you will never have anything else than Symbian phones. I have met dozens of organizations who said to me 1 year ago that we will never have any other devices than Symbian. If the end user wants to have anything else, they will need to talk to this general manager. Well, guess what? The general manager called them a week later and said that I want my own new fresh iPhone to be connected to corporate email. And there you have a conflict. So in reality is that IT is not always on the same side as the users. And why is that so complex? Well, there's things you need to do if you grow above the Symbian phones, if you grow to real intelligent devices, real intelligent mobile device, there's things you do need to do. You need to do, for example, device management. You probably need some sort of a threat protection. You need to actually run some antivirus, the malicious code detection tools in your Android devices. And you're probably gonna need some way to distribute application to your mobile workers. And that is the key. And how you do it? Not traditionally. There's no way. Traditionally, we used tools like Altiris, Microsoft System Center and Configuration Manager, and other tools like that to really dictate what was happening at the endpoint. Now with mobility, the thing is turned upside down. Now the user is actually demanding when he needs, and we need to just provide him with the same kind of access as he's used to in his kind of personal life. So what we do, or what we have used to, is to deal with these company-owned devices. Devices that have strict policies, that are owned by the company, that are perhaps running a fixed set of applications. All the traditional PCs, even some Macs actually fall into this category. You probably already have tools to manage them. But what happens if we allow people to bring their own devices is that all of a sudden we have these personally owned devices, and we still need to provide them with the corporate access, corporate applications. And what if we allow people to not to be fully managed, but partially managed? That we will let them to use our tools. We will enable them to use our data as well, but we will never touch their personal data. And that is the challenging part. But I'm saying that if we manage to fix that upmost right corner, if we manage to fix that area, we have already managed to fix a lot of the problems that we today see at the corporate-owned devices, because the devices used in the upmost right-hand corner are exactly the same devices as here, and they have been these devices have been originally designed to be used by consumers. And those things you can't really get away when you are dealing with consumer products. And one of them is that you can't really say that you must. At least with Apple and Android, it's like, I would strongly recommend, I will annoy you. But still, in the end of the day, if the user decides to give a damn of your recommendation, he can absolutely do so. So we will need to develop the management in a way that it actually is compliant with those consumer products. And this is, by the way, true for Apple iOS. This is true for Android, all the Android devices, and this is true also for devices like Windows Phone. All of them have a lot of freedom for the end user, and that is sometimes a challenge for us when we are talking about security. So, to enable true bring your own devices, we need to be able to manage the personal devices, but at the same time, we will gain something on the corporate-owned devices as well. So why do we need to care? Because we live in an app-centric world. There's average of 41 apps in each and every tablet and phone devices. So it's calculated that that native apps represent 81% of the time used in the tablet. true that many of, if not all, big corporations are actually developing their own apps to really gain most of the performance and power of the IT systems. And last but not least, 59% of the enterprises are actually running the business apps already in the mobile devices. So there's a lot of things that is really kind of driving our behavior towards the fact that we need to think about how to securely manage applications. So how the thing starts? Usually there is the productivity drivers. Perhaps if you are in the private sector, you want to compete with somebody else. And perhaps the mobile application, the mobility, can be a competition advantage. And third one, it may even allow us to do business models that we didn't even dream of before. So there's a lot of things that are driving it. Now, if you think about what are the top enterprise applications, so the typical use case is also for business apps on the phones is actually sales-related, customer-related, workflow-related, reporting-based reporting, field services. So there's a lot of things that are really mobile by nature. So, and what happens in the end of the day, usually organizations are developing their own web services to cope with mobile. That's the first phase. Then we are moving to hybrid, and this is, by the way, something I'm seeing today in many organizations. So we are enhancing our mobility, our intranets to be HTML5 compatible, which, by the way, is the recommended way of approaching not just the security side of things, but the usability side of the mobile application. And many of the organizations are already thinking that what if we would provide a real native application? Because these guys, these bear great advantage. Like, for example, if you are traveling, and what if your connection, you lose your connection for 5 minutes? Does it mean that all the data you have provided is kind of turned down and wiped? But if you have really native application, you don't need to be connected 100%. If you lose connectivity for 5 minutes, perhaps after 5 minutes it will work. You have moved to another location. So there's a lot of advantage, usability advantage you gain by using native apps. But there's also a lot of things you need to think about when you are dealing with native apps. So first of them is the fact that you need to deploy them. You need to make them available. And then at the same time, you might need to think about how to deploy content. So application and content. And all of them should be kind of freshly available like a self-service. And then all the applications, they have a life cycle. If there are your own applications, you probably need to test them. You need to QA them, like making sure that the quality is correct. And you need to provide them into production. And fourth but not least, last but not least, is the fact that if those applications contain data, you're probably going to need to protect them somehow. Apply perhaps a corporate ID, apply perhaps encryption, apply something that wasn't already in the application, in the device. So there's something we are really bringing in the table when we are talking about mobile application management. So, what does the CIO want usually? Is there, by the way, any CIOs present at the moment? Nobody. You are. Is this true? Would you say that you would want support internal and public apps on iOS, Android, and support tens of apps at the scale? Is this a lie, or is this a kind of give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? You need to think about it. But you don't want to limit your business. That is for sure. Apps team. They want an easy way to distribute apps. They want to focus on business side of the apps, not so much on the security side. And this is a big no-no for many guys working in security. Because IT security, they want to control over the apps and control over the stuff that the applications are doing. And they want a separation of duties, meaning that when I'm on work, I'm going to use these business applications like in the work, but when I'm off, and perhaps when my kids are using or my children are using my tablet, they can't have an access, not to my emails, not to anything I have on there. And the end user, they want the easy self-service kind of a way to address and access those things. So you see, we have at least identified 4 different stakeholders for mobility, and we need to serve all of them within one and same place. So what is the solution? Well, Symantec App Center. It is an enterprise app store, meaning it's a place where the user can and where we can distribute content and the apps. It's an MDM solution, by the way, so we can enhance the security. We can limit the features already existing in the device. We can apply policies on the application. We can say that some of the applications are managed by our IT. We apply policies on them. We apply restrictions on them, but still most of the applications will run as they used to be running. We have Symantec Secure Email, which is provided by us, and it comes on the side of whatever the customer or the end user chooses to use on the private side. It's again separation of duties. So separation of corporate and personal data, so we can make sure that whatever you download to that piece of tablet is going to remain secret. And we even have a Symantec sealed Symantec program for the ISVs providing these apps, so they can apply, they can be Symantec certified, so that we can actually control the flow of the data within the apps. Or you can do it by yourself. It's really easy. So we can use in-house store. We can provide easiness. I will shortly show you how it actually will work. But the idea is that we will bring exactly the same user experience as you would experience, for example, from your normal Apple App Store. So the idea is that we are trying to make things simple, even though they are secure. So the in-house store is there to distribute or even kind of advertise secure applications, even though there might be links to external web stores. We can make HTML5 applications, the web applications, look like an app in the system, and we can even make them more secure by enabling, for example, encryption for the data downloaded by that browser connection. And we can enable iOS devices to download easily different kind of content, all of them under the umbrella of your security controls. The other side is the data protection. So we can apply authentication, which is, by the way, one of the ways how you can, for example, iPad, use your corporate AD accounts, user ID and password in the iPad. You can use encryption. You can actually apply data loss prevention policies. But the biggest thing is the fact that we are doing separation of duties on a software level. So we are applying a wrapping technology on those applications your IT organization or your security organization decides that need to be protected better. So we are doing it in a way that we will never change the actual code existing on the app. We actually wrap those applications within the App Center. We apply a policy on top of them, which means that we actually, when we start the application, we will actually start the App Center container first, and then we will start the actual application. This allows us to stop the information leakage. This will allow us to control that if you lose your device, we can temporarily block your device from accessing any of these. Kind of great tools, aren't these? So, how to do it easily? If you are application or content administrator, you just upload your content to the console, select the right policies for the application, and then select the target group. Of course, it's a group-based. If you're end user, you just log in into App Center and get the apps. How much more simple can it get? Now, moment of truth, I'm going to show you how it actually looks like. So, it's a web-based tool. It's available in Amazon Cloud on the same price as you can build them on your own premise. So you have two options, on-prem, in your own data center, or at Symantec Cloud. It's up to you to choose which flavor do you want. The idea here is that I'm actually seeing the App Center as an administrator. So the administrator, he can see all the apps, he can control, he can publish applications. Oh, I see, I need to re-log into my system. Great. I'm going to show you how does it look like. So we have all these different kind of apps here. We have apps like Angry Birds. You probably, or your kids have played with these. And then we have something we call in-house applications, like the expenses application here, which is their kind of a tool, our own developed tool, which is available for Apple devices, which is not available in a public app store. So we can enable distribution of both applications. And I'm going to show you how we're going to enforce some of the policies on these expense applications. At the moment, like you can see, there is no policy on this one. So it's totally available, it's easy to use. I'm going to next start my reflection connection. I'm going to try to get my iPad on the table to communicate with this PC. With a bit of luck, a bit of magic as well, I'm going to AirPlay you my iPad. There's, by the way, nothing specific about Symantec on this reflection. It's just a tool to display the user, the pad. But you see, I need to show you how it looks like. And I'm going to start the App Center application over here. Like so. Okay. And then I need to give him an ID. I need to put you aside because Apple has this funny feature that whatever you type in there as a password, it will actually show you. So, and I don't want to change my password every time I'm giving out the presentation. So yeah, I know. Probably I need to change my password anyway. So in a minute or so, it will actually log into the system. It will show you too as well. It's already have changed the system here. So you can see how it looks like. Yes. So now we are inside of the App Center. The same apps as you saw from the management are here now visible. And the look and feeling is the same as you would be experiencing. And we even have the content here. So I was explaining you that you can actually upload content for the end user. So this allows the content to be securely distributed for the end user, and the end user can open up the content here, and he can pre-vive and see the content inside of the App Center. Now, as you see, it is still inside of the security container, so I can see the content, and it was really easy to start using the content. Now, if you go back to the App Center, start looking at how does it actually look like, we see that we have the expenses application here. It's not been configured, or there is no policies at the moment. And if we go to My Apps tab, we can even see that we can rate it, we can give it the rating. Another great way of communicating with your end users, by the way. And then we see that we have already installed it. Now we go back to the application itself, and you see that if I'm launching this expenses application, it is kind of a Hello World application, but it has some features I want to show you. So it opens up without asking any questions, and I have here a really secure email attachment that I want to secure. But for some reason, this application developer didn't really protect the information. So it still allows me to copy and then go to some other application. And then I can create a fresh new memo, and I can easily paste into some other application. So what I just did is that I actually copied some very confidential material away from the business application into my normal thing. And I could have easily emailed this information some way. And this is the issue that we are now trying to block by using application policies. So we are going to edit this business application, and we are, to save some time, we are not going to show all the different variations, but we're just going to apply with a predefined policy. So I have already created policies here. So I have application policy that is preventing the copy and paste functionality, and it's requiring an authentication. I'm saving it, and it's saying to me that, and now it's done. So now I've wrapped the application. You saw what happened, and now all of a sudden this application has a Symantec sign on the right-hand corner, right-hand-most corner here, which is telling everybody that I have now applied some policies on it. If we go back to the iPad, you see, for those who have already used these, come on, it has already said that there's something changed because it has the number 1 sign with red. So I know that there's something changed over here. Come on. I'm going to put you aside for a minute because I need to re-logging into the system. how convenient would be the world of demos without any password, right? So let's go inside and have a look what actually changed. And if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to ask them anytime. Now, you see, same view on the application except one change. The expenses application has now the sign, and also there's the one number in the My Apps set saying that something has already changed. So it says that I should update. Okay, go ahead, update it. And now, with a bit of luck and a bit of magic and a bit of Apple push notification service, like just now, I need to say päivitä, which means update. So this is the closest you can get in any part of the world, by the way, of forcing somebody to use something. This is the closest. You can annoy them to the point that they will not resist anymore. But if I say päivitä, which means update, it will start doing the actual installation. So it will actually go. It will fetch the new application. It will reinstall it, and then you will see that it has changed dramatically. Now, who thinks this is a hard thing to configure? Okay. So the question was that can I somehow enforce it? I can annoy the end user. I can say that it's required, but it means that it will pop up every now and then that you haven't really installed it. Then, of course, on the other side, I can see from the compliance report that it's no longer available. When it's enforced, it will not work anymore if you change the policy. So after you have started configuring or enforced that, the application will not simply work before it has been reapplied. So before it has been enforced or applied a policy upon, before that time, it will actually work seamlessly. But after you have applied policies, then it's no longer possible to use kind of old policy, if that's what you're meaning. Yeah, I fully understand, and let me explain you. We are doing the maximum enforcement that the platform provider allows us to do. Trust me. And we are going beyond that. So everybody hopefully saw that I started the experience application because in 5 minutes I need to probably stop, right? So it does behave a bit differently right now. So it requires an authentication, which it didn't do before. So let's type my user ID, which is, by the way, something you can tie to your AD as well. So in an iPad, AD authentication to your application. Quite nice. And again, sorry guys, I will let you watch the nice management console for a minute or so while I'm trying to type my password with correct letters. It's far easier that way. Okay. Now the application started just like it used to start before, but without authentication. Let's go and have a look if we can still copy something from it. Come on. the reflection is a bit slow sometimes. So I can still paint content from the app. But see, there is no copy and paste anymore. So we cannot took that away. So the application started normally inside of the secure container, but without the possibility of copy and pasting. So who thinks that this is more secure than the one before? Come on. There's a lot of security features which were not that difficult to implement. And by the way, we can do the same for HTML5 application. We can securely make them more secure. We can prevent the copy and paste from HTML5 application. Kind of nice thing to have. We can enforce the encryption on the data which is provided or stored in the system. So this said, I would like to conclude my demo and open up the thing for you to ask more questions if you like. So, still, the purpose of this demonstration was to show that the bring your own device, self-service and security can be combined in one solution. It's not something that is hard to reach. It's actually very reachable, and we can even provide it from the cloud. So, questions?
What other options of restrictions you may provide for Android web application?
What other means? Let me see. We provide huge amount of list on the MDM side. So MDM side is restricted by the fact that what kind of tools does the vendor provide. So Apple has probably 120 different controls you can apply, and we can enforce all of them. Android has a lot less, and Windows Phone, when it's going to be supported, it's going to be somewhere in between. But we absolutely have the MDM features as well. But since this was really not the MDM side, I didn't want to really bring that up that heavily. But MDM is absolutely part of the App Center. So as soon as you have installed the App Center application into your tablet, we can start enforcing the policies. For example, we can block the user from accessing the public-facing App Store, make them use only your App Store. So that is one of the features you can apply. All right, you have been a very good audience today, and I would like to give you a possibility of having some time before the next session starts, and I would like to advertise the hands-on sets, the more technical session downstairs, which is starting in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
What about the licensing? Is it per user or per
Licensing is always per user. We used to have, like you probably remember, used to have a device licenses before, but now all the licenses in mobility, whatever we do, is user-based, which is kind of I think it's a kind of clever way of doing it, because usually people have more than one device, and it's not our job to define how many, and it's one of the ways to control some of the cost elements. Yes, thank you.